Okay, all right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning for today's webinar, Demystifying Zero Trust. Before we get started, I want to go over just a few items and kind of some ground rules here before we get started and let you know how you can participate today. So first and foremost, we respect your time, and this webinar will not run anything more than 45 minutes today. Number two, questions are encouraged, all right? So you can submit your questions by typing them into the questions pane on the right-hand side of your screen right now. We're going to collect these questions. They're going to address them at the end of the presentation, all right? So thank you for doing that. And then finally, a recorded version of this webinar will be available under the blog section of the Van Alsdal website. So if you like the recorded version, head on over to Van Alsdal's website. Okay, who are we? My name is Chad Scott, and I am your Channel Account Executive for Sophos. And joining me today is Andrew Short, Solutions Engineer Extraordinaire with Sophos. Andrew, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Chad. Thank you for inviting me today.
All right. Always a pleasure having you. Okay, so let's get started. Andrew, are you ready to demystify Zero Trust today?
I am ready to go, sir. Let's go.
Okay, trust. That is just a nasty word, dangerous word in the world of IT. What do you think about trust, Andrew?
Well, I mean, it certainly can be a dangerous word, especially when that trust is implicit, when it's unqualified or unquestioned, creating a large sealed off corporate perimeter, as we're used to doing, and trusting everything inside has proven time and again to be a flawed design, if you will. These soft, chewy centers are hackers' dream. Once they're inside, they're often invisible, spreading across the network, accessing important systems, causing more and more havoc, as most of the security controls and strongest checks are only at the perimeter. Whether we like it or not, the perimeter, for business reasons, has been eroded. Users want to work remotely. They're on untrusted networks like Wi-Fi in a cafe or FBI surveillance van. Or thanks to events like COVID-19, they're forcibly working from home. They're using their personal devices to access corporate data and resources not on from not on the corporate network. Furthermore, the use of software as a service or SaaS apps or cloud platforms and services leaves our data outside of the corporate perimeter's protection. And we see this a lot with shadow IT. And so the result is that everything that is important to us is everywhere. Yet this old model fails to empower businesses and embrace transitioning to the cloud while simultaneously protecting their data, their assets, and their users.
Understood. Okay, so as I understand it, you know me, Andrew, I understand little, so that's why I have you. Zero trust is a holistic approach to security. It's not just a magic button here. It's a trust nothing model and a philosophy for how to think about and provide security. How am I doing?
You're absolutely right. First of all, no one and no one thing should automatically be trusted, be it inside or outside the corporate network or even the network itself. Look at it like a firewall. When you're configuring a firewall, do you allow access to everyone all the time and then start removing access, or do you deny everything and then start opening the accesses only that you require? It's the latter, right? Eventually, something needs to be trusted, but with zero trust, the trust is provided temporarily and established from multiple sources of data, more than we've ever used in the past, and it's constantly reevaluated. We have plenty of experience with an untrusted network like this. We have been calling it the internet. Computers that are facing the public internet are secured in a very different manner to those inside the traditional perimeter. The zero trust model guides us to treat all devices as if they were internet facing, and instead of having one single perimeter, we must create many micro perimeters or micro segments and applying checks and controls around everything and between everything.
Okay, it's time to get real here with me. So zero trust, it's a giant idea, and there's a lot of evolving discussions around it. I hear it can be extremely challenging. And again, you're so good at this, especially for me. Can you simplify this for me?
I sure hope so. At its essence, there are a few major concepts to zero trust we should keep in mind. The first one is there is no inside the network. Pretend that we're running your entire business from an untrusted location like a cafe, and all your devices are connected directly to the most challenging part of that network, the public internet. By imagining this as our reality, we're forced to apply security in ways where we can't rely on being behind a traditional corporate perimeter. Look, there'll always be corporate trusted networks for administration, in-house systems, but the goal is to keep the ordinary users off of these networks using app proxies and other technologies, drastically reducing our attack surface. The second is trust nothing and verify everything. Assume that there are attackers on both sides of our networks, that the outside and inside, and that they are there all the time, constantly trying to attack. No user or device should be automatically trusted. By imagining we're under constant attack from every direction, we're pushed to build rock solid authentication and authorization to our resources, layer our defenses, and constantly monitor and analyze everything happening across our estates. The last is that security should adapt in real time. The security policies we put in place to achieve zero trust should be dynamically and automatically changed based on insight from as many sources as possible, data from as many different technologies as possible. A static policy like this user on this device can access this thing won't protect you if that device has been compromised while that user is using it. If your policy also took into account device health, such as the identification of malicious behavior, our policy could use this to dynamically adapt to the situation with zero effort from an admin.
All right, I'm starting to get it, Andrew. Thank you. All right, we're getting there. So we've already covered the first concept in zero trust and that there's no inside the network. But let's dive into our next concept, the trust nothing and verify everything methodology.
Well, that is a powerful statement. Trust nothing and verify everything. Trust nothing, ever. For when we trust nothing, we're forced to seek relevant security measures wherever there's a risk. Verify everything. Do not assume that passing a check naturally affords trust. Having credentials doesn't mean you are trustable. Having credentials just means you have the credentials. We can break this into 4 simple principles to keep in mind. Number 1 is always identify. We need a singular authoritative source of identity and use it everywhere. Everything should be authenticated with multi-factor. No matter where the user is, whatever they're trying to access, validate their credentials. Validate that they have their second or third factor and regularly require re-authentication. If credentials are stolen or a system is hijacked, MFA and regular re-authentication will quickly put a stop to an attacker. The second is always control. We apply controls and checks wherever they're needed and adopt and enforce the principle of least privilege. Users should only have access to the bare minimum that they need to perform their job. If there's a human resource system utilized by the HR department, then only the HR staff should have access to that.
Got it. All right, that's 2 of the 4. Always identify and always control. Makes sense. I'm with you. Okay. What are the other 2, Andrew?
Well, let's continue. The third is always analyze. Just because an authentication was successful or an access is granted to a user or a device doesn't mean that it's trustable. Insider threats and malicious actors can gain access to valid credentials. Record all network and system activity and regularly analyze and inspect it to verify what occurs post-authentication. Utilizing tools like Managed Detection and Response or SOC, which Security as a Service, can provide monitoring and analyzing your network requires. The last is always secure. Use an inside-out approach to cybersecurity. We should be focusing on our most important data and working our way out, identifying points of vulnerability along our data's journey within our network from the moment it's created until the moment it's destroyed. Always consider risk above all else over compliance or regulation. Applying security purely to meet a compliance check or a regulation requirement is dangerous. Compliances don't know what's in our network, the flows and the workload systems and technologies. They don't know the risks relevant to each and every possible element of the network. Focusing on the possible risk and threats our organizations face will ensure we know where security should be increased, relaxed, and where microsegments should be created.
Okay, all right. You got it. Like where this is going so far. Let's talk about micro segmentation, if you will, for me.
Segmentation is breaking up something larger, like a big flat network, into smaller pieces. Doing so enables us to create perimeters around every workload, every device, every user, every application, every data store, every network segment.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, you did it again. Sorry, I was there for a while, but I'm gone again. Flat networks. What is a flat network?
A flat network means that everyone and every device has access to each other. It's that soft, chewy center that we talk about when we talk about perimeters. Look, not every user needs access to every server or database. Is there a manufacturing system only used on the plant floor? Then members of the accounting department probably shouldn't have access to that, and vice versa. Microsegments come in many forms. They can be network segments like VLANs, different subnets that only specific IPs or IP segments can reach. They can be groupings of authenticated and authorized users utilizing role-based access controls. How about endpoint and firewall solutions that can isolate machines to take them offline when the threats are detected regardless of their user or location? They can even be web proxies for web applications so that each app is protected against exploitation and only the relevant users can authenticate and gain access to them. What's important is that we move away from all things on one network and a single perimeter protecting it.
Okay, I got it. I'm back. All right, good job again. All right, so talk to kind of lay the groundworks of what zero trust is, but now what kind of benefits can we expect with this methodology?
With zero trust, we're able to control our entire estate from inside the office to all the way to the cloud platforms that we use. No more lack of control outside the corporate perimeter or struggles with remote users. We no longer see things as inside or outside the corporate perimeter. We're able to manage and secure both our remote users and our internal office users in exactly the same way. Remote users no longer need to be limited or treated separately. Even BYOD can have a safe and secure strategy to implement. We're able to still maintain security even when we don't own or have full control over the infrastructure in use. By using identity controls, location controls, device health, MFA, overlaying, monitoring, and analysis, we're still able to have strong security across any environment, platform, or service. Lastly, the ability of malware or attackers to spread within the network is drastically limited. Rather than having free reign of the entire network once inside, they only have access to the bare minimum number of systems the compromised user had access to. Also, by continuing to distrust the authenticated user, checks will be in place between those systems, further limiting the ability to spread.
Got it. Okay. All right, we're going to build a roadmap here. So this is the 5-step process to how to move towards zero trust. All right, so here's step 1, Andrew, and help me out with this. So step 1 is define our surface and identify resources.
Yes, first we need to define what surfaces we're hoping to secure, control, and monitor. What are all the resources, services, apps, devices, and so on that we use in our business? Having a clear scope or inventory of everything that is in use across the entire network.
Got it. All right. Step 2, talk about maps. We have to map standard and privileged pathways.
Yes. Once we have everything scoped out from bullet 1, then we need to map out standard pathways. What are the flows? What are the behaviors and relationships between everything that are standard and expected? This group of users will access this app. This device will connect to that network. This service uses that data store, and so on. But what are the privileged pathways? This admin will want to connect to this management console, RDP into that server hosting sensitive data, and so on. Privileged pathways will almost certainly want extra security or controls applied to them.
Okay, we've defined, we've mapped. Now it's time to architect the zero trust network.
Architecting a zero trust network. Now we know what is in scope and what the relationships are between everything. we can start to apply our new zero trust philosophy to it. Identify which security measures and access controls we want to apply and where. What technology will best mitigate which risk, and so on. We have PIMS, Privacy Information Management System, PAM, Privileged Access Management, LAPS, Local Administrative Password Solution. These are great examples of those types of controls.
PIM, PAM, LAPS. I'm learning something every day. It's awesome. All right, step 4, here we go. Create the zero trust policies.
Yes. Next, we need to implement zero trust policies that will make use of as many different sources of data as possible to add context to any connection or request.
Got it. All right, and we're here. We've built it. Now it's time to monitor and maintain the perimeter.
Yes. Finally, perhaps most importantly, we need to overlay everything with detailed monitoring so that we can maintain our newly created perimeters. This is one of the biggest changes admins face, where once you could install and configure antivirus and never need to look at the console. With zero trust, we need to change our habits. We need to be monitoring the events that take place, taking advantage of monitoring tools and services to understand the root cause of how a threat entered the environment and the corresponding behavior.
Got it. Okay, so look at me here. I've got something for you. I think you might be impressed with this. To try and show what these next steps entail, here we have a variety of resources that are in scope. All right, I built this. The things we want to make secure with zero trust. So what do you think's next?
Next, then we map out the standard and privileged gateways between all these resources, assets to understand how they connect to each other and which ones are vitally important to lock down. Then we overlay this with automation and orchestration, tools that will help us automate workflows and achieve the adaptive and dynamic policies we require. We also overlay visibility and analytics so that we can see the big picture, identify potential threats and incidents as quickly and efficiently as possible. These perimeters around resources and the pathways between them are where we need to apply security and controls to achieve a zero trust architected network. We need to identify which technology, service, or solution best mitigates each risk we have and provides the best perimeter defense for that resource or the best pathway control and monitoring. Examples of such a technology include an endpoint protection solution. This can help secure all of the endpoints listed above. A visibility and threat response solution. This can help secure within the public cloud data, devices, workloads, and networks. And a next generation firewall, which can help to secure all of the resources and the devices.
Endpoint protection, threat response, and next generation firewall. I think it rings a bell a little bit, Andrew. All right, employing technologies like those will put us in good stead when moving to a zero trust model. However, no one technology can move us to a zero trust environment. Is that right?
That's very true. It requires a cultural shift and the reorganization of our entire IT infrastructure.
Okay. So in summary, if you remember nothing else from this very comprehensive presentation, this is what you should remember, right? There is no inside the network, right? 1, 2, trust nothing, verify everything. And 3, and security should adapt in real time. How'd I do?
And very good. And as it stands, zero trust has been a philosophy towards cybersecurity, and very few able to readily embrace it. However, as the security perimeters continually erode, the need for adoption will become increasingly prevalent. Cyber criminals are only getting more innovative and defenses are struggling to keep up. And the zero trust model represents a way to truly minimize threats, while all the while establishing new standards in cybersecurity. So it's time to think differently, and it is time to evolve. All
right, very good, Andrew. All right, we're up to our questions and answer portion of the presentation today. Ashley, you have any questions for us in the question bar at this time?
I'm going to wait just a moment, but currently we do not have any questions.
Okay. I have one for Andrew while we wait maybe for other ones. So again, Andrew, this is a huge, it's not huge, you know, in how to do it. It just seems like a massive undertaking. So let's talk about that first baby step to start the Zero Trust path. I know we kind of mapped it out, but what's that first baby step to kind of get the ball rolling?
It's in the assessment, if you will. You have to know what your application pathways are. You have to know what your users are doing and where we can, restrict. Where, if I have a group of finance users accessing a finance system, then my manufacturing people probably shouldn't be able to get to that, and vice versa. So having a really good look at everything that I need to secure. Assuming the Zero Trust model is a very good first step. You can look at this and say, everybody has a mail. Okay, so I have a mail system that I have to secure. Is it internal? Is it Office 365? Is it Gmail? There's a lot of different moving parts there, and that's why one of the points we made is there's no one package that will implement Zero Trust for you, because there are so many moving parts and there are so many different ways to solve that. You can have Salesforce on-prem, or you can have Salesforce in the cloud. Which one is it? Well, that's probably a flow that we need to take care of and that we need to secure as well. So I think assessment and getting a really good idea of what's out there that I need to secure in the first place is where I would start.
Yeah. And also, Andrew, now is the proper time to evaluate this as we experienced with the work from home phenomenon and employees outside of that network, right? How do you secure them? How do you take care of them? If they, do head over to Starbucks or something else, this is that step to help make sure to secure them as they're out in the wild, as your employees are in the wild. Is that right?
I think so. I think so. One of the things that we're seeing is it's not necessarily Zero Trust, but you see people running to remote access VPN as a solution right now. And I think that's a good stopgap, but it's not Zero Trust.
Yep. Understood. Yeah, now's the time. Ashley, any questions for the question pane? All right. Well, if you have any more questions that you'd like to contact, the Van Alsdale team, the contact information is up here. Again, the recorded version of this webinar will be found on the Van Alsdale's website, vanalsdale.com, in the blog section. Hey, I can't thank everyone enough for joining us today. Again, with Sophos, on behalf of Sophos and Van Alsdale, thank you so much for joining. Look for more webinars coming out real soon. And again, thank you for your time today.
Yes, thank you.